Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy, and I'd like to thank each of the witnesses for your testimony today. I want to begin my questioning with Mr. Haney. And I would note, Mr. Haney, that I think your testimony before this subcommittee today is exceptionally important, and I would commend both members of the media and members of the American public to examine your testimony closely, because you have described a systematic policy, indeed, of scrubbing, sanitizing, erasing references to radical Islam. Indeed, you described in your oral testimony that as the, quote, first great purge, where 876 documents were edited by the FBI to remove references to radical Islamic terrorism. And am I understanding your testimony correctly, that the administration has been systematically scrubbing law enforcement and intelligence materials to remove references to radical Islam?
Yes, it happened a year after the Holy Land Foundation trial, when it was proven in federal court irrefutably that these networks were tied to financial support of Hamas. The 800 and plus records that I was ordered to modify, removing all the linking information out of this system called TEX, were virtually all linked directly to the Muslim Brotherhood network of individuals and organizations established right here in the United States.
And, Mr. Haney, I want to draw your attention to the following chart that compares the 9/11 Commission report, which had 126 references to jihad, 145 references to the word Muslim, and 322 references to Islam. Now, if we fast forward to the FBI counterterrorism lexicon, we see the relevant numbers are 0, 0, and 0. Suddenly, jihad, Muslim, and Islam have disappeared. They have likewise disappeared from the National Intelligence Strategy in 2009, 0, 0, and 0. From the Strategic Implementation Plan to Prevent Violent Extremism, 0, 1, 1 slipped in apparently, 0. And finally, the National Intelligence Strategy, 2014. Is this pattern of Orwellian editing of law enforcement and national security materials consistent with your experience and what you observed helping protect this nation?
Yes, the first great purge I referred to was in 2009, but that wasn't the last one. There was another great purge in 2012 when they didn't just modify the records, they completely eliminated them out of the system, which bypasses the security protocol for the Department of Homeland Security. And it may not have mattered except for one tragic consequence. The masjid in San Bernardino and the one in Fort Pierce were directly related to the case of those 67 records that were deleted out of the system.
Mr. Haney, would you elaborate on how potentially focusing on this threat might have helped prevent the San Bernardino terrorist attack or the Orlando terrorist attack?
The networks are made up of individuals and organizations. Individuals don't exist without a network of organizations. You have to look at both of them. That's why there's no such thing as a lone wolf terrorist, because they don't function in a vacuum outside the structure of the community, just like planets don't rotate around the sun without the gravitational force to hold them in place. So to look at these acts as separate from the community is a flaw, because we're looking first of all at tactics, not strategy. The strategy is implementation of Sharia law. If we only look on tactics, they are kaleidoscopic and they will change constantly, and we can never acquire a target. If we understand that the underlying strategy of the global Islamic movement, then we understand why these organizations exist in the first place. And then we understand why the people that go there are going to be affected by that gravitational force, if you will, and orbit their lives around that central structure. That's why the mosque in Fort Pierce is called Islamic Center, because it provides a center to their life.